Politicians often say different things depending on whether they are in government or in opposition. But does that approach undermine public confidence in the political process? I'm joined by NBR's political editor, Brent Edwards. Brent, thanks for taking the time.
Yep.
So this is your latest column. What are some of the key differences between what politicians say in opposition and then what they say once they get into government?
Well, you'll often find in opposition politicians will really attack a whole range of policies or issues, and then they get in government and suddenly it's not an issue, or it just dies. I mean, you can think of some classic ones in a way, but for instance, then Prime Minister John Key referring when he was then opposition leader before becoming Prime Minister, referring to working for families tax credits as communism by stealth, and of course got into power. Didn't do anything about it. And in fact, in National's last year in office, admittedly after John Key had stepped down as Prime Minister, it actually extended the working for families payments. And you've probably, if you look at Labor, when after the global financial crisis, it repeatedly attacked the then National government over its level of spending and the level of government debt, asking if any government had ever run as high deficits as the National government had, for instance, in 2011, the year, not obviously just flow on from the global financial crisis, but also responding to the Christchurch earthquakes. And now, of course, you have National attacking the Labor government over the level of debt. It's at times it's just because it's politics. It's an easy attack on the government, but in fact, once in power, the party that might have been raising an issue has no, and probably never had any real intention of making a change or operating that differently. And also we forget that a lot of what happens, in terms of government policy goes across governments of different political hues, and it doesn't change at all. And so there's always a sense that there's an attack in opposition, criticism made, but that political party probably won't make any particular change on a lot of those issues.
Is this just the game of politics, though? I mean, is it reasonable to expect it might operate in a different way?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is the game of politics, and maybe, call me naive for expecting that they would operate differently. But I do think, we should expect better, and we should always demand better from all of our politicians in terms of the level of debate. And so I think, they should be held to account for what they say in opposition and then what they do in government. And often or not, they aren't really politicians. But I do think the public probably gets a little bit tired of that political game playing.
What difference do you think it would make if they were more consistent in sort of carrying out what they actually said they were going to do?
Well, I wonder whether it might lead to better public policy making, in the sense of, that you'll get a greater consistency and there'll be a more intelligent, considered debate around some of the big issues that the country faces at any given time, whether it's facing the global financial crisis, the impact and the economic implications, as well as the health implications of the COVID-19 pandemic and everything else that's going on. But I think also crucially, it might actually help to start to rebuild a little bit of public trust in the political process and in the political system, because I do think, as I've said, that voters become very disillusioned with politicians and their political parties because they know that they're just saying what suits them at the time. And so I think if there was a bit more consistency and a bit more honesty across that debate, that would actually, I think, strengthen public trust in the system.
Absolutely. Brent Edwards, thanks very much for your time.